Yeah, well, Prost, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Prost.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Andrew Combs is nice enough to join us before his show tonight in Utrecht as he gets ready to wrap up a pretty big European tour. First of all, thanks a lot for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, we've been over. I've been over about a little over a month. But the guys in the band were also over with our friend Aaron Ray. So they've been over, it'll be 2.5 months for them.
Yeah, so a lot of people anxious to get back to the U.S. And you were, I guess, born and raised in Dallas and now in Memphis? I
was born in Dallas, but I'm in Nashville. I've been in Nashville
okay.
for 13 years now. 14 now, yeah.
All right, quite a while. And were you then raised in the country scene? As your background was the house, playing country music? Or what's your musical background, basically?
Yeah, not so much. My parents were into what a lot of parents were into, like the Eagles and Fleetwood Mac and Simon and Garfunkel and the good stuff from the 70s. So I was raised a little bit on that. My dad was a piano player. My cousin was a guitar player in a bunch of Texas country bands, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one who introduced me to guitar. I was into music early on, but then I kind of lost interest, and then I got into actually electronic music, strangely enough. My cousin who gave me the guitar came back from a performing arts school in Liverpool and brought me all this pirated software. So I just sat in my bedroom and made stuff up, and that was my introduction to writing original music. And then from there, it kind of gravitated to more song-based stuff. Yeah. And now I'm kind of going full circle and just trying to deconstruct a song kind of a little bit. I mean, I still have so much respect for the formula or not. I hate that word, the formula, but the structure of a song still means a lot to me, the lyrics and melody. But sometimes I just want to blow up the idea of what a song is.
Okay, because I was listening and reading a bit about the latest album, and they mention it's more atmospheric or starts to bring in some of those more influences of the electronic music you used to kind of make? Or?
I mean, some people some fans, not really critics, but have said at the merch table, it's kind of electronic. I mean, there's really not any electronic. There's a couple synths, but it's all guitars and keyboard, organ and piano and stuff.
You were able to capture it's interesting that it gives the perception of that.
Yeah, I think it's just the production. I worked with a different producer this time around. His name was Sam Cohen, and he's in Brooklyn. It's just sort of a different sort of vibe about making a record, and it was fun. It is different, though. I think there's still a common thread between all my records, though.
Yeah, and that kind of, I think you might have already answered it, so it's fine. But that evolution kind of your musical, because we kind of started at the end, I guess, because you said you've come full circle.
Yeah.
But go back to maybe, or I'll just ask the question again. We can always just cut this out.
Okay.
But yeah, what's the evolution been? Do you feel in your music and your art?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, my influences growing up were, I kind of started making music in the electronic world. I mean, I was really into Radiohead and Aphex Twin, like later Radiohead, or I guess now it would be mid Radiohead, but Amnesiac, Kid A stuff. And from there, I progressed into, let's say, Oasis or Blur, more Britpop stuff. And then that, just from there, it became more song-oriented.
I see, yeah.
And by the time I was in, late high school, I started listening to folk music a lot with, a country tinge to it, Townes Van Zandt, Chris Christopherson, Guy Clark. But at the same time, Joni Mitchell and Jackson Browne. So that's kind of where I started making records, was around that. When I went to college, I guess I was 18. I finished college, and then I made my first record, and I was really in that world, the songwriter world. And now I just feel like just to keep things interesting, and my mind has just gravitated towards changing things up, and it just feels like I'm coming full circle back to like where I started with the Radiohead and like the more experimenting with sounds and structures of songs. I don't know if it's full circle yet, but like I'm just kind of testing the waters, I guess. Yeah.
Heading down the home stretch.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to hear you describe that, because from listening to your music, with that description, I can really see it now and hear, because I was hearing things when I first started listening. I'm like, this isn't very country. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I like, oh, it's not too country. And then the more I'd listen, I'd be like, this is really country.
Yeah.
Or singer-songwriter or whatever
Yeah.
you would want to say to it. And then I'm like, oh, and then I started really hearing, and then as I got more familiar with the lyrics and things like that, I'm like, oh yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, I mean,
there,
it's steeped in, I mean, I'm still, my like gods of music are, you know, Leonard Cohen, Guy Clark, Chris Christopherson, Joni Mitchell, Tom Waits, like people who like really were a slave to a song. Nick Cave to a certain degree, like, and I'm just trying to expand. I don't want to make the same record over and over again, so why not like expand the musical palette or the sonic palette that surrounds the actual song, and just keep changing. I don't know, my favorite artist never really made the same record twice, so.
Okay, and I ask a lot of the people I'm lucky enough to talk to this. Do you think it matters, or what's the significance or importance of being able to say, I'm folk, or I'm Americana, or I'm, to be put into a category so people can then say, buy this guy because he's this kind of music, or does that do a disservice to the art, or I don't know, it's just a necessary evil, or what's your take?
I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm sure it's great for some things. You know, I have a hard time when someone asks me. It's funny, like whenever we go through a border checkpoint over here, like in Scandinavia where they check a lot of borders, I was like, what kind of music you play? And I'm always like, well, it's kind of folk, kind of rock and roll, kind of country. And they're like, okay, whatever. But I mean, I'm sure it helps for an audience maybe to a certain degree to have an artist be in a certain section of a record store, a certain section of their mind, you know. But I don't know. Me personally, I crave artists who are willing to change and like try new things. So I'm always looking for people who aren't pigeonholed into a genre.
He plays the good kind of music. Andrew Combs, thanks so much for taking some time. I know you got to get to the sound check, so we won't. Anything else you want to kind of bullshit about, or you think we've covered the basics?
I think that's about it. I'll be touring a little bit next year. I'll probably be back over here in the summer or something, so keep an eye out.
We'll be looking for you. Thanks a million. I really appreciate
Thanks, man.
it. All right. Cool.
Well, that was easy.